just have two questions, and if no one else has questions, we'll turn to the next panel. In the May report, there was an issue raised concerning Acting Director Robert Hawley. You may recall that the Acting Director, in reference to cases that have been referred to outside counsel because there was a conflict, that Director Hawley actually ghost wrote the report. Do you recall? I see heads shaking in the affirmative. And so I don't know how many times that happened, but what's going on today to look or relook at the cases where Mr. Hawley referred things to outside counsel, kind of, and then actually wrote the report?
So the May report recommended that the bar engage in an investigation of that conduct to determine how many there were and how far it went. That investigation is ongoing. There's been an outside firm retained by the bar to conduct that investigation. We don't yet have the results of that, but it's underway.
When do you expect the results?
That retention was done by our Office of General Counsel, so I will ask what's the time frame?
It's in initial stages, and as you know, the bar is also facing fiscal challenges, and retaining external counsel is expensive. So we are beginning the process, and as of now, I don't have a time frame for the review.
Okay. Do you have any expectation? Are you thinking a year, 2 years, 3 years?
I actually don't, because we just engaged the counsel and we have not developed the investigative plans. However, to the extent possible, we'll be happy to keep your legislative staff apprised of the timing.
Okay. I don't want to know the terms of the engagement, but was there any time frame put on it at all?
It's not customary to include timeframes in my experience for these types of investigations, particularly when the investigator hasn't had a chance to review all the records and develop an investigative plan. And so it would be unfair to ask of that, but it will be reviewed expeditiously, and again, within the constraints of the fiscal constraints that the organization is facing now.
Can you give us a report in 6 months as to when you think that report will be complete?
Yes, we can give you an update within 6 months.
And then one other thing, we would like to see that report, to the extent you need to redact material, we'd like to see that report when that report is complete. Is that okay?
I can raise that issue with the board and discuss, and if there's appropriate decision made by the board, we can certainly respond back to that.
All right, thank you. If you could let us know that too in 6 months.
Okay.
All right. Last question is that we in the legislature have basically been accused of overstepping our bounds. There's a clear separation of powers issue here, because we're actually asking questions of the state bar. The state bar is a function of the judiciary, ultimately responsible to the Supreme Court. Obviously, we think we have a responsibility here, and that's why we're having this hearing, and I'm very grateful for you in cooperating, I think, quite expeditiously to our inquiries in connection to this hearing. But what has the Supreme Court suggested in terms of reforms? If anything, I don't know.
Yeah, I think you've seen publicly the Supreme Court do a number of things. It's issued orders directing us to update the conflicts of interest policies that apply to the board as well as to state bar court judges. Most recently, it issued an order directing the state bar court to change a practice regarding notification of suspension. Attorneys required to notify their suspension status of their clients. So they've taken individual action in that direction. We've also had conversation, this is at the staff level, not with the justices, but about this issue of oversight of the discipline system, and specifically a discipline monitor or IG type of position. We, board leadership and myself, the general counsel, and Mr. Cardona will be meeting with the Chief Justice in June. This will be our opportunity to talk very specifically about some of the reforms outlined in your background paper, as well as others that we've been talking about internally. So we've gotten formal directives via orders from the court, and then more informal conversations about the need to potentially enhance the visible and direct oversight over the discipline system.
All righty. Thank you, Ms. Wilson. All right, seeing no further questions or comments, we can turn to the next panel.